All right, welcome to another video from the chart readers. We have had a couple monster days in the market, so we will be reviewing the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones on today's video. We're going to look at the daily, the weekly, and then we'll probably sneak a peek at the monthly since this is pretty much the end of the month. There is Monday still, but yeah, nonetheless, I mean, it's been a great couple days of trading. So I'm just going to kind of catch up on the last couple videos, right? So we've obviously been in a pretty bad downtrend. There was one attempt at the 20, we failed. There was a second attempt at the 20. And then what made this really big was it looked like the first bounce on the 8. And I think you can now see what bouncing on the 8 does as opposed to losing the 8 and starting to work down, right? Again, we worked up, couldn't hold the 8 and then lose it. Work up, couldn't hold the 8 and lose it. Work up, use the 8 to bounce, right? So it's great to see that we're actually higher, right? We closed, you can see there's more green on today than what was the height of the 4th. So we're now a little higher than this, which really should make it seem like we're going to run to at least that, if not, back up a little bit to this, right? So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. It kind of looks like now that we've passed this, we might be doing a nice little gap fill to basically this guy. Okay, so the two places I see us stopping are either here at 11.3 or here at 11.5. Nonetheless, either one would still be a lot of room up, which should still mean there's going to be a lot of good room on stocks to do well. We're going to get to the Dow Jones shortly, but the Dow Jones actually broke this cluster already. And I've always said they do things together, right? So with the Dow Jones doing it, hey, that might be enough for the NASDAQ and S&P, which we're about to see, to also break it, right? So not quite moving together, but again, the two were able to pull the NASDAQ out of the death line. Let's see if the Dow Jones is strong enough to pull them both over this guy. So let me just show the S&P 500 real quick, and then I'll come back here, right? So again, you see this is getting closer to the cluster, but not quite over. And then coming to the DJ30, boom, already over both lines, right? So again, the fact that this one did it is hopefully going to be good confirmation that the other two will also do it, right? So it's, I also, not NASDAQ, sorry, QX. So I always do say, they move together, right? So ideally, this will follow the Dow Jones. Let's look at the weekly real quick, and then I'll make a couple trend lines. But again, we definitely lost the 200. It looked like we were going to lose 10,000, but I mean, we've made a pretty nice bounce. All that said, there's still a lot that needs to happen for the downtrend to go away, right? It's actually a little easier to show it here, but this is the weekly, remember that, right? So we basically have been starting since the January top, right? So I'll use this right here. We're going to hit that, and I'll go all the way through. So again, I'm using that corner of the green. I used this one instead of this one because obviously that would have been the steeper line, right? This is the real, what do you call it, downtrend. And again, 1225, which is also the top of this channel, looks like it will be the weekly downtrend number, right? So I've been talking about this channel for a bit, this 1225 and this 10,008. Yeah, I mean, big things will happen. And again, look, I have my golden lines up here, right? Once we can get up here, it'll be good trading, right? We'll be over all the lines. A lot needs to happen, but we want to get to these golden numbers, right? So again, a lot still needs to happen on the daily. We're still waiting for this 200, right? So just kind of doing that same downtrend. Oh, this is from April. Sorry, let me back up one more. From January through, it pretty much lines up. Yeah, this peak right here. Because again, it hits this one, right? Not this one. So it pretty much lines up exactly with the 200. So we're very, very happy that we're now seemingly out of this downtrend, right? Looks like we're working our way up. This cluster is kind of right in the middle too, but hopefully we can at least maybe make our way back up. Again, I personally am not 100% sure we're going to get over this line just yet. We've made one test. We've made two tests. I don't know if three is going to be enough, in all honesty. We might need about 4 or 5, right? It took us a lot to get over that 20 line. So just kind of keep things in mind, right? But let me zoom back in. And again, let me show you what I mean about the 20 line, right? On this 20 line here, we had to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until we broke, right? Is 3 attempts really going to be enough on the 200? Hey, maybe, right? I kind of don't think so. But again, if we get some real good indicators going, if we just, get a lot of momentum going, if we can even maybe get like, how do I say this? We're going to break this with a lot of momentum, get a healthy drop down to kind of reboost the momentum and then again go. That would be healthy too, right? Almost a lightning bolt, an up, down, up, right? That might be able to do it. But again, just be a little more, I don't want to use the word pessimistic, right? But be pessimistic. It'll actually make you a little more money than like this blind optimism that a lot of people tend to have, right? So for now, though, I do believe we'll break this. I'm hoping we make our way up here. I'm just not really sure about breaking the 200. But hey, if the Dow Jones does it, because again, I'm going to jump a little more than I normally do around, right? But if the DJ30 can break the 200, hey, maybe that'll get me thinking. Because I'll be honest, I didn't even think they would break this cluster until I saw the Dow Jones do it, right? So again, they move together. Let's see what happens. I've been skipping the S&P 500, so let's give this bad boy a little bit of love. But you'll see this is a pretty similar chart to the NASDAQ. And really, the NASDAQ and the S&P have been kind of moving well together. It's the Dow Jones that's been the strongest, right? But again, this technically never got under the death line, right? This is our red death line. So both the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 were able to stay over. And that looked like to be enough, obviously, to get the NASDAQ over, right? From here, again, not quite over this blue and red line are 50 and the 100, but I like the fact that the Dow Jones did it, and I think NASDAQ and S&P will both do it. Because look, again, our RSI is actually not that high. It's only 56 here, and then I didn't mention it on the last one. But again, our RSI is in the 50s. This thing has seen 70s. This thing has seen 80s, almost 90s, right up here. So there's definitely plenty of room in the RSI to keep the legs moving, right? So how high has this been? Yeah, again, the last time this came up to the 200, it was in the 80s, right? So still plenty of room to look like break this. Again, I'm just not too sure if we're going to break this longer downtrend over. And actually, this looks like it's just a little bit higher than the 200, right? So we're taking it from there. We have to take it from here because that's the last confirmed one, right? So this 2 point is the highest point. So actually breaking the 200 doesn't even break the downtrend, right? It's actually a little higher up, a little closer to this 4.3 number than the 200. But nonetheless, I think the 200 is pretty much going to be a good gauge for all of them, right? And then again, just one more time, sorry to zoom out so much. We've really only made one attempt here and then kind of a half attempt. The line never even got over. There's a little bit of a wick right there, right? So this hasn't even seen a good 2 attempts on the 200, right? So just kind of going back to why I'm not too sure. Let me look at the weekly here too, but why I'm not too sure the 200 is going to break. Again, we have our golden lines because that's some delicious trading if we can get anywhere near that. The weekly, again, a good bounce on the 200, never touching the death line, right? A little bit of a wick test, but again, never went under it, which is really important, right? So over the green on the weekly, hey, there's still a couple days left, right? We're not quite halfway yet, but beautiful to see, right? It's been, almost a month and a half, if not 2 months since we've been over the green line. So real positive to see there. I love it. And then last up, again, I've been coming to the Dow Jones a little bit earlier than I usually do because it really is the Dow Jones that's been running the show here, right? So again, it came close, but it never went into the death zone range. It made its way up. The power right there on that candle alone, right? Good bounce on the 8, working its way up. And again, I'm loving it, right? We actually got confirmation. We broke the 100 and we got confirmation today. RSI is a little higher, though. Those other ones are in the 50s, right? This one's in the 60s. It's been as high as 80. And again, it leads me to believe if this thing keeps going a little too high, like if we get another 2-day run, it'll run out of momentum here and fall, right? I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a down then back up because we need some good RSI level, right? Again, here we were in the 80s, try to make a break, and I always say 80s kind of the wall on the RSI number, and we'll tend to work back down to 30, right? What did this shit? This hit 13, but nonetheless, right? So don't want to get here in the 80s. I want to get here in the 50s, 60s, right? I want to have more momentum in the tank to break it, right? And again, how many actual attempts here? We'll say 1, 2. Hey, this one's at least had 3. Okay, that might be a little reassuring. Maybe the 4th one will be good, right? We've kind of been using April-ish as our like tank point, but really we'll give this 2 tests right here. I think that's more than deserving. So, hey, maybe Dow Jones will be strong enough to bring them all, right? Like and look at that. The Dow is actually over the 20. I love it, right? So last week was able to get over the 8. So far, it's over the 20 as well. Beautiful thing. This one actually lost the 200, but again, just monster Dow. So overall, still really believe that we at least have a few days for sure. I'm not too sure if we're going to get over that secondary wall, right? Either this wall right here, as we get to the weekly, it'll kind of equate to this wall right here, right? But